Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2020 webinar hosted by Asian Association for Sports Management, the Rising Stars in Sports Management Research. And I am Ju Ha-baek from Chungang University, Seoul, Korea, and it is my pleasure to be your MC for today's event. This event is now live on the Zoom and the YouTube channel as well. And we'll begin the webinar with a welcome address from the President and the Vice President of AASM. Please welcome Dr. Etsuko Ogasawara, the President of AASM.
Hi, my name is Etsuko Ogasawara, President of the Asian Association for Sports Management, AASM, from Juntento University in Japan. Thank you for your time to participate in this webinar. First of all, I would like to express our appreciation to the Dr. Harry Kwon, Vice President of AASM, and also his team at the Chungang University in Korea to organize this webinar. In addition, Korean Association for Sports Management to support this webinar. Actually, this idea originally came from the Dr. Harry Kwon himself. Thank you, Harry, your initiative. We are so lucky because we have him as a vice president and dedicated person to think about Asian development of the sports management. Unfortunately, we needed to extend the annual 2020 AASM conference to the next year. That was supposed to be held in Bangkok in August. However, we have been facing the COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, AASM executive committee members decided to organize the first AASM webinar on August 28th, 3 months ago, in order to show our continuous passionate feeling to bring our members to the next stage in this circumstance. Then, the first August, our AASM webinar was really successful. Thank you, Dina, our EC members and her team in Philippines to fire us. And we could make our history. Today, we are moving forward to the next stage, that is to show our rising stars in sports management in Asia. They are our like a treasure, like a jewelry. We are really looking forward to listening their presentation today. Finally, I hope we can stimulate the other scholars in Asia, that is you, to become the next rising stars in sports management by this webinar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ogasawara. And there will be one more welcome address from Dr. Hyungil Harry Kwon, the Vice President of AASM. Please welcome Dr. Hyungil Harry Kwon.
Hello, President Dr. Ogasawara and EC members of AASM and precious members of AASM. I hope you're all in good health in the time of pandemic. We now gather together on a virtual space for academic desire to be satisfied. Due to COVID-19, we are challenged and we came up with a different way of communication. Webinar might be different from what we have had. We cannot shake our hands together. We cannot talk face to face. However, our desire to learn is not stopped. As long as we have such a desire, academic advancement will be with us. I truly thank the five speakers today, the Rising Stars in Sports Management Research. In previous conferences, we had quite a many chances to hear from famous researchers such as Dr. Chaladrai, Dr. Harada, Dr. Statler, so on and so forth. However, the speakers today will be future Dr. Chaladrai and Dr. Harada. So this is what ASM prepared for today. And I appreciate President Dr. Ogasawara for allowing me to organize this webinar. And I truly thank my students for making this webinar possible. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kwan, for organizing today's event. And we'll have 5 presentations from Rising Stars in Sports Management. And please allow me to introduce the speakers. Okay, Dr. Ye-Hun Lee from Hankuk University of Foreign Studies, Korea. And Dr. Daichi Oshimi from Tokai University, Japan. And Dr. Chi Wen-yang from National Taipei University of Education, Taiwan. And Dr. Won-seok Jang from Seongkyungwan University, Korea. And Dr. Rei Yamashita from Waseda University, Japan. And each presentation will take 20 minutes, and we won't have any break during the webinar. And there will be a separate Q&A session after all the presentation is over. If you are watching on the Zoom, please leave us questions at the chat that you can see from the bottom of the screen. And if you are watching on YouTube, please leave us questions at the live chat. The staff will gather all the questions from the audience and will share at the Q&A session. Okay, then we begin with the first presentation of Dr. Ye-Hun Lee from Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. The presentation topic is the topics of development and well-being in sports management research. Please welcome Dr. Ye-Hun Lee.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ye-Hun Lee, and I'm an assistant professor at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. So first of all, let me share my presentation slide here. Okay, first of all, it is my honor to give my presentation in this esteemed webinar. I particularly appreciate Dr. Ogasawara and Dr. Kwon for giving me this opportunity. Well, and I also thank all the organizing staff members who devote all of their efforts in this webinar. So the title of my presentation today is the topics of development and well-being in sport management research. So in this presentation, I will briefly talk about my previous research journey on the development and well-being, and I briefly talk about two of my current research projects. So why don't we get started? So there are actually two statements which has inspired me as a sport researcher. The first one is from the Plato. He actually stated that the moral value of sports and exercise far outweighs the physical value. So sport may be more than just a performance. The United Nations also stated that sport provides a forum to learn skills such as discipline, and it teaches core principles such as cooperation and leadership. So I strongly believe in these two statements because to me, sport has been always more than just a game. Sport has been more than just performance. Sport has taught me a lot of numerous life skills and helped me develop the muscles of my heart and mind. So I started to be interested in this developmental benefit during sport participation. And so I decided to apply this concept of development to sport organizational setting. And I appreciate my advisor, Dr. Chaladrai, for developing these wonderful concepts. Actually, there are two, sorry, two distinctive goals of athletic organization. And so it is obvious that the primary objective of a sport team is winning, which can be categorized as performance goal. But as I said, sport is more than just winning. So we also need to think about athletes' personal growth, their career opportunity, their academic achievement, and their health and well-being. What are athletes going to do after their retirement? They have to do something other than sports. So I'm not trying to say that which goal is more important compared to each other. It is true that both goals are important in sports setting, but based on my research philosophy, my research has focused on this area. So big issue, my big research question is how can we achieve the development mission in sports setting, particularly in youth sports setting? Long story short, my conclusion is the role of sport leaders because they can have significant influence on athletes' development. So if sport leaders such as athletic directors or coaches set their organization's goal as development, then they may engage in more leadership behavior focusing on athletes' development and athletes will experience positive development. So I thought this was a great idea. So decided to talk to and actually brainwash sport leaders about the importance of development goal in sport. And those coaches actually listened to me well, but most of them actually told me that, well, Dr. Lee, that is a wonderful idea. But if I don't win, I'm going to get fired and I may lose my job. So it is not us coaches who don't want to focus on athlete development. It is the pressure to win and stress that lead us to focus on winning. So that stopped me. And so I realized the barrier between the research and the practice here. And they were right. Previous literature have found that these sport leaders are experiencing substantial amount of stress because of the pressure to win and pressure to generate revenue even these days. And previous literature in leadership also stated that found that leaders under stress become self-focused. So they display abusive leadership behavior and act in destructive ways toward their followers. So based on these evidence, it seems quite reasonable to assume that sport leaders under stress may have lower level of development goal orientation. And I used the broaden and build theory of positive emotion to support this hypothesized relationship. So I'm not going to be in very detail about this theory, but basically the theory states that positive emotion can broaden and expand the scope of our momentary perception, thought, and action. So there was a very interesting experimental study. So there were three groups and the researchers led one group to experience negative emotions by showing some disgusting video clips. And then the researcher led the other group to experience positive emotion by showing some of the interesting video clips. And there was definitely a controlling group. After they experienced certain emotion, each group were designed to take the same memory test, remembering the list of specific vocabularies. The result was definitely participants in the past emotion conditions remembered and listed more vocabularies in comparison to other groups. So basically, if we are feeling high positive emotions, we may generate more creative ideas, we may have better memory functions, and we may behave in more adaptive ways. And the more important part of this theory is this. The theory actually distinguishes the negative emotions from positive emotions and show the consequences of each emotion. So it was found that negative emotion narrow people's attention and lead them to focus on short-term goal. And also they engage in some of the behavior option which makes them safe. So let's suppose that we have an important paper due tomorrow, then we may have little room for thinking about our family, kids, probably peace in the world, and we may only focus on the completion of that paper. So we become very outcome-oriented person because of the negative emotion. So based on this previous literature, I developed this hypothesis. Perceived stress would be positively associated with winning goal orientation and negatively associated with development goal orientation. Because in sports, winning is kind of short-term goal. Winning takes 2 or 4 hours, takes one day. In the season, occurs within 6 to 8 months. But when it comes to development, it takes time. it takes time to change people. So positive stress may be positively associated with winning goal orientation and negatively associated with development goal orientation. So now the next question, research question was, how can we reduce such stress? To answer this research question, we need to understand how our brain works. Our brain is working so hard, so even though we don't want to, it sometimes tries to solve the problems in the future, which has not yet occurred. Oh, what should we do tomorrow? That leads to anxiety and panic. And also, sometimes brain goes back and tries to solve the event in the past, but the past event cannot be changed. So that leads to regret and depression. So now the question is, how can we stop this process? How can we make our brain stop regret about the past? How can we make our brain stop worrying about the future and think about only the present moment? So this is kind of an attentional problem. And the lack of attention is a very critical issue in our health and well-being. So for example, the researchers at Harvard University, Killingsworth and Gilbert, studied the daily thoughts of 5,000 people from 80 countries, and they found that 47% of the average adult is not paying attention to what they are doing. So that means probably maybe 47% of audience in this webinar may not be paying attention to my presentation right now, but it's fine to me because that has been proven by the scientific research. But anyway, more importantly, they also found that when our minds are not paying attention, wandering, then we tend to be less happy than those people who are paying attention to what's happening in the present. So Killingsworth and Gilbert actually said that a wandering mind is an unhappy mind. Then the next question is, how can we handle this distraction in the present moment and make us feel more happiness? So one of the answers I found was mindfulness state. So mindfulness is a psychological state related to the quality of one's consciousness in which individuals focus on the current moment with an accepting and non-judgmental attitude. So it is quite difficult to define what mindfulness is still for me. So I'm going to give you one example. So yesterday I was preparing for today's presentation and suddenly started to worry about today's presentation during my preparation. What if I make mistake? So my brain drew me to think about the future, even though I didn't want to. Also, I started to blame myself and feel shame and said to me, blame myself, Yehun, you should do better research than this one in the past. So again, my brain tried to solve the problems in the past. So it was my attention in that moment which caused negative emotion. But what if I could avoid those distractions during my preparation? I mean, what if I had the ability to ignore these negative thoughts? Or what if I could just accept the situation without judgment and had the ability to shift my focus on what I was doing, preparation, rather than future events? Then maybe as Killingsworth and Gilbert found, I might be a little bit happier than when I was caught by those distractions. And how could I do that? And actually mindfulness or meditation and relaxation was found to allow that situation. So to me, mindfulness is paying attention on purpose in the present moment without judgment. So it allows individual to observe present internal and external stimuli objectively, create a separation between the self and the event. Okay, webinar is webinar, I am who I am, so I'm preparing, so the presentation is not going to bother me, like that. And when being mindful, we are not interested in what should be. So we don't have any expectation about the given situation. So we may not have any disappointment or negative emotion. And these are the consequences of mindful state. Mindfulness was found to affect major domains of health, job performance, and even leadership. So mindful state can reduce depression and anxiety, reduce stress, and reduce ruminative thoughts. In job performance, it has a positive effect. And when it comes to leadership, leaders with a high mindfulness state show more empathy, better interpersonal justice, so they treat their employees in more polite way, more respectful way, And they have more leadership effectiveness because they can manage their emotions during stressful events. And as you see, mindfulness was found to reduce stress. So this was my hypothesis. And I actually added this path in my hypothesized conceptual model. Mindfulness may be negatively associated with perceived stress and winning orientation, and mindfulness may be positively associated with development goal orientation. And this is how I conducted the study. 478 high school athletic directors in the United States participated in this study. And you can see the instrument and data analysis I used. One thing I'd like to notice is the scale of winning goal orientation. I did not use the performance goal scale developed by Trail and Cheladre. And this was actually adopted from the task and ego goal orientation in sports psychology. So this one is more emphasizing winning. So the items were like, winning is important. We have to be better than others. We should win, something like that. And I'm not going to talk about all the result from the complementary factor analysis, but here is the result from the structural equation modeling technique. So as you can see, perceived stress was found to positively associate with winning goal orientation. So as we saw, winning is a short-term goal, so perceived stress might be positively associated with winning goal orientation. And also, perceived stress did not have any significant association with development goal orientation. And mindfulness was negatively associated with perceived stress and positively associated with development goal orientation. And mindfulness had an indirect effect on the winning goal orientation through the mediating role of perceived stress. So this was kind of first study in mindfulness research, which found a significant association between mindfulness and goal orientation among individuals. So here is the interpretation of the result. I'm going to talk about the relationship, negative association between mindfulness and perceived stress. So this is what happened during mindfulness state. So mindfulness allows us to stand back from automatic reactions, take a moment to pause, and become more aware of what is actually occurring. So without mindfulness state, we impulsively react to the negative event, but mindfulness helps us to respond to that negative stimulus with multiple options. So mindfulness helps us respond with multiple choices rather than reaction. So that maybe allow mindfulness to reduce stress. And I found a positive association between mindfulness and development goal orientation. And previous literature found that mindfulness can increase empathy among individuals and allows individuals to focus on process rather than outcomes. So as empathy allows them to focus more on others and have compassion toward them, they may engage in development goal when in the mindful state. But without mindfulness, stress can make people become self-focused, so they become outcome-oriented, so they may focus on winning orientation. So these are all for the one of my study, and this is another study I conducted with which investigated the factors influencing sport leaders' development goal orientation. So servant leadership style predicted development goal orientation significantly. So to enhance development goal, maybe we should educate and train sport leaders to engage in servant leadership behaviors. Also, if servant leadership is that important for the development goal, then we need to find out how we can enhance sport leaders, servant leadership style. Emotional intelligence, which is the mental ability related to emotional experience, was found to predict servant leadership significantly in my research. So emotional intelligence intervention program is also necessary to nurture sport leaders, servant leadership style. And this is supportive evidence of the relationship between servant leadership and development goal orientation. So as you see, the characteristic of servant leadership and the components of development goal are sharing something in common. If you are servant leaders, you think about long-term process and emphasize the growth, development, and well-being of the followers. So considering this definition, it seems pretty logical that servant leadership is positively associated with development orientation because they are sensitive to the personal concern and well-being of followers, and they give priorities on followers' career development. And emotional intelligence also can be linked to servant leadership. Individuals with high emotional intelligence show better empathy. So they may be able to focus on the needs of followers. And they are also good at regulating their emotions. So they may regulate their self-interest first before making decisions. Also, individuals with a high emotional intelligence can read other people's emotion very quickly. So they may be sensitive to the personal concerns of followers. So there might be positive association between emotional intelligence and servant. So that's all for my previous literature, and I'm going to talk about my two current research projects. So these are what happened in sports in the past. Were many deviance incidents. Larry Nassar sexually abused USA and United States and Michigan State University female gymnastic athletes. In Korea, about 5 months ago, Choi Soo-kyun, a triathlon female athlete, actually committed suicide because she was abused and assaulted for years by her coaches and team captains. So yesterday, it was yesterday news, prosecutors asked for 9 years of prison labor on that head coach. So many people are now in Korea now saying that the culture and the elite sports system should be changed. And this is also discouraging all the sport coaches because they are working really, really hard for the benefit of their athletes. But now everyone is just criticizing the coaching group as a whole. So I thought there should be some approach to fix this kind of situations. So currently I'm participating in the project, the development of the evaluation system for national level athletic coaches in Korea. This is funded by Korean Sport and Olympic committees. So to change negative coaching behavior, I have focused on coaching education program. They are very important, but the evaluation system also can change coaching behavior. This is just a side note, but the coaches of Choi Soo-kyun, we just saw, actually received 98 points out of 100 points last year because one of our players, captain, achieved the silver medal in Asian Games. So now we can see that the previous evaluation system were only based on the performance criteria. So we are kind of developing the evaluation criteria that emphasize athlete's perspective. So they maybe coaching behavior can be changed a little bit. So hopefully it will contribute to the positive coaching in Korea, maybe later in Asia. And if you are interested in this project and this kind of topic, please let me know so we can work together for the positive coaching in Asia. And this is another research project that I'm currently doing. So as you can see, this is the increased number of counseling sessions on depression in Korea between 2019 and only 6 months in 2020. And you can see the increased number of anti-anxiety medication prescription per month between 2019 and 2020. Maybe this is because of the COVID-19 virus. And so this kind of situation makes some behavioral change among depressed people. They feel loneliness, they feel frustration, they feel sadness. So in the worst case, they actually committed suicide. So I'm currently investigating how to promote physical activity among depressed people. So when we apply STP analysis here, people with depression may have different profile and they may have different motivator. So they hardly move. So how can we promote physical activity among them so they can have happier life or healthier life? So that's all for my presentation. Thank you for your attention. So, and please stay well and healthy. And please let me know if you have any question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lee, for your presentation. Next, Dr. Daichi Ushimi from Tokai University will deliver the next presentation, The Social Impact of Rugby World Cup 2019. And don't forget to leave questions to Dr. Ushimi during the presentation. And please welcome Dr. Daichi Ushimi.
Oh, can you hear me? Oh, is that okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can I start? Yes, thank you very much. Hi, I'm Daicho Shimi from Tokai University, Japan, and I wanna just say thank you, Dr. Etsuko Ogasawara, President of the AASM, and Vice President of the AASM, Dr. Hari Kwan, and all of the staff of the Chunghwa University. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. And oh, this is the Mount Fuji. I can see from my office. So anyway, I'm gonna talk about the social impact of the Rugby World Cup 2019. So yeah, let's move on to the presentation. So let me briefly introduce my research interests. First of all, yeah, today's topic, social impact of sporting events is my interest, especially focusing on the residents' perception of social impact or city branding, city image improvement by sporting events. And also sporting events and community development is my second interest, especially event leveraging strategy by using non-mega sporting events. Today's topic is a mega sporting event, major sporting event. That is a Rugby World Cup. That's big events. But I also focus on non-mega sporting event, like a community-oriented sporting event. So how to leverage, how to maximize the profit benefits. And also consumer behavior, sports consumer behavior is also my interest, especially the psychological aspect of consumer is my interest, like a customer delight. Kando, that is Japanese, but we also similar words in Asia, right? Kandon or something like this. Anyway, today I focus on this here. So the definition of social impact is here. A lot of words and sentence, but an important thing is that changes by sporting events. And here's an example of the sporting events, the social impact of sporting event, like social capital, social cohesion, feel-good factor, cultural interest, image enhancement, and sport development. Red one is the negative social impact, such as disorder, congestion, feeling unsafety. So the previous study contributes to shedding light on the social value of sporting events. And we have two major research stream of social impact research. First one is the, as I said, changes are the key concept of social impact. So we compare the pre and the post, sometimes pre, during, post comparison of the perception of the social impact by sporting events. Second approach is that investigating the relationship between impact, social impact perception and intention, such as the event support intention or willingness to attend the event again, etc. So these are the major approaches. And I'm going to introduce the first approach, the pre-post comparison, the Rugby World Cup 2019. It was held last year. I cannot believe that was held last year in Japan because the situation is drastically changed. So anyway, I gonna introduce the results. This is a conceptual model of our study. So we conducted the questionnaire survey 2 times, before the event and after the event. 3 months before the event, we conducted the survey to collect the social impact perception. And then 4 months after the event, we collected here. And you can see before the event, we just expect or guess the social impact, right? So we call it that is the expected social impact. And then here is a Rugby World Cup. After the event, subjects experience the social impacts, and we can also measure the event support. And a key point is that we use the same sample in a different times, different period. So that is called the panel data approach. That is a more varied approach to investigate the changes before and after the event. So this is the flow of our research. And this is the context. Rugby World Cup was really successful. Tickets were all almost sold out, 99.2% sold out. And number of views, social media, a lot of social media attention. And event surplus amounted $65 million US. And many volunteers were involved in the event. So we can say it was the event was really, really successful. Actually, I went there with Dr. Harada, previous president of the AASM. And yeah, it was really enjoyable anyway. And we conducted a questionnaire survey on the internet. And 617 participants were involved in our research by stratified sampling method based on the demographic variables from the population census of Tokyo. Unfortunately, we cannot collect the data from all cities, all host cities. We have 12 host cities in total, but we just focus on one city, Tokyo, because of limitation of the budget or effort. And scales were from previous studies, and this is a social impact scale, and that is independent variables. And dependent variable is the viewing behavior by the dummy variables, 1, 0, 0, 1, and event support as a dependent variables. Validity and reliability, including discriminant validity, were acceptable, good fit. And here is the results of the comparison between pre and the post events. And as you can see that the pre-event score were higher than post-event score, except community spirit. That is the factor investigating the feeling happiness, feeling pride of their countries. So just only community spirit, the post-event score higher than pre-event score here. So pre-event score or higher than post-event score, it means residents overestimated both the positive and negative social impact, except emotional impacts. This is the only factor, the post-event score higher than pre-event. And this is analysis too, investigating the relationship between social impacts and intention and a behavior in this case. So as I said, before the event, we just only guess or expect the social impact. So the expectancy is a keyword. So we utilize the expectancy theory, and that is action or behavior is motivated by knowledge and beliefs about outcomes. And expectancy could anticipate a certain behavior based on its expect results. So for example, when we go to somewhere for trip, we search several information, right? The quality of the hotel, destination, attractive, some sightseeing place or something like this. So those factors influence our action, actually. So we utilize into the social impact research context. So expected social impact could be the variable to predict the resident viewing behavior. That's the first hypothesis. And after the event, this is one of the major theory in the social impact research, social exchange theory. Individuals evaluate circumstances and experiences based on cost-benefit analysis. So if the benefit outweigh costs, resident will form the positive attitude toward event, and vice versa. If the cost outweigh benefit, they will form negative attitude. So this is the hypothesis of the relationship. And here is the results. This is expected social impacts, and this is a dependent variable, viewing behavior. And here is experienced social impact toward the support intention. And as you can see that community spirit, that is emotional factors, and sport participation influence on the both dependent variable, viewing behavior and support intention positively. And R square is the about 37% on the viewing behavior and 77% on the support intention. And the social capitals is also a positive predictor on the support intention. So in conclusion, residents tend to overestimate both the positive and negative social outcomes, except emotional impact. So we can confirm the importance of anticipated and experience social impact as emotional factors, especially emotional factors. And sport participation is a unique characteristics of sporting events. And social capitals is also a good positive predictor on the support intention. And as a result, social impacts could be an anticipated variable to predict residents' consumer behavior, in this case, viewing behavior. So social impact could be the variable to predict consumer behavior. So that's my conclusion of the brief conclusion of the Rugby World Cup social impact. And let me introduce a future direction of by using the new approach. So first one, this is the brief research. What's the trend? So a shift in the focus of study about impacts of sporting events from here. Large to small events. As I said, I focus on not only the major sporting event, but also non-mega sporting event, like small local-oriented events, like a marathon event or cycling event, etc. And also impact the leverage, how to maximize the benefits for community development. So the impact research is focused on how much the impact happened by the sporting event. But leverage is how to maximize the benefit or impact for community development. So recently I focus on here the leverage, how to leverage the benefit of sporting events. And last one is the intangible. Social impact is generally intangible impacts. But recently, there are some trials to visualize the social tangible. It could be the social tangible impact. So visualize the social impact into like a figure or monetary value. So let me introduce some with my ongoing research here. Introduce here. The one research is the SROI, social return on investment approach. That is the net present value of outcomes is divided by the net present value of investment. So our target activity is the soccer school in the local community. And generally, that is for free. And many professional soccer team provide those soccer school or some physical activity class in their hometown. That is for free. And they say, oh, it's a CSR activity. So they don't expect some monetary value too much. But we need to visualize that, what kind of impact happened in those kind of activities. So that leads to the support from the local government or private company. So we need to show more the impact of those kind of activity. So for example, in the school, local school, soccer school, or physical activity school, generally coaches go to the local school, like an elementary school, and then they teach some physical activity class, and then some students don't know well about their soccer. Some children don't know well how to move that. So coaches have to explain very easily. So that's good training opportunity for them, and also local school teacher. For them, it's a good opportunity to learn the skill from the professional soccer coach. So that could be the monetary value by calculating if they take some lessons to how the learning skill for kids. So it may be $100 per hour or something like that. So we calculate those kind of activity monetary value into the SROIs by interview investigation. So we interview what kind of benefit do you get by those kind of activities, and coaches say, oh, this is a new opportunity for us or something like this. So it takes a lot of time and effort, but it worth its try. And actually, recently the number of the academic articles has been increasing, focusing on SROI. And this is not our article, but as I said, the number of articles has been increasing. So we try to calculate the SROI in the local soccer school in near future. All right. The second approach is that here is the AI calculate the excitement by using the 3 indicators. The IBM has the AI program, Watson, and they calculate the Wimbledon game excitement by utilizing this 3 indicators: match crowd cheering, match analysis, and player gestures. And then they calculate the 0 to 1 point, and one point is the most excitement scene or movie. So it's uploaded automatically in their platform, and audience can watch those exciting scene in Wimbledon. So as you can see, the technology has been growing rapidly. So I also want to catch up those trends. And this is an article that is focused on neuroscience perspective, and I try those kind of technology. This is a simple device. They can monitor our brain activity, and we can examine, like, sorry in Japanese, but relax or fear, disgusting, relax, or something like this. We can monitor at the same time. And this is my student. He wear this device and he watch this uniform color. He's interested in the color marketing. So which color is best for university soccer uniform? And then he monitor his brain activity. So I think it's the best way to use those new indicator with questionnaire survey and interview investigation. So we need several approaches to investigate the consumer behavior or psychological aspects. Anyway, time is up. So I hope I'm gonna have some research with you, collaboration research. Especially, I don't know well about this kind of tech. This is my try. So thank you very much. I hope we're gonna have a same research topic. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Oshimi, for your presentation. And I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Dr. Chi-Wen Yang from National Taipei University of Education. And the presentation topic is the demands and supplies of human resource in the field of sports events in COVID-19. And again, please leave questions to Dr. Yang at the chat during the presentation. And please welcome Dr. Ji-Wen Yang.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. This is my first time to use the Zoom, so let me open the. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Sorry,
we can.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Chi-Wen Yang. I'm from National Taipei University of Education from Taiwan. It's my honor to be invited to 2020 AASM Webinar. My presentation title is The Demands and the Supply of Human Resources in the Field of Sport Event in COVID-19. Actually, Taiwan have been doing a good job against COVID-19. So far, we only have a concerning case of COVID-19 only 650 and only 55 from local. Actually, some of the policy and the strategy adopted by our government are critical. For example, in the end of the March, our government announced all the university to shut down swimming class and operation the swimming pool. Then in the other day, the Central Epidemic Command Center banned hosting indoor gathering above 100 people and outdoor gathering above 500 people, and they require all the people in Taiwan to wear the mask. I think those strategies are pretty good to keep us from community infection. Then when it comes to the May, the COVID-19 situation was stable and the control. So our government enforced the epidemic new life movement. It means we just remove the people number regulation of indoor gathering 100 people and outdoor gathering 500 people restrictions, because our government believe our immune system is the best weapon to fight against COVID-19, because at that time we have another vaccine produced worldwide. And then we think we need to get our economy back as soon as possible. Then I want to share some strategy on the Chinese Professional Baseball League, the DAP. And actually they are doing a good job because they are the first professional baseball league to play in the world and allow the audience to get into the ballpark. In the early March, they postponed the opening to the end of the March. 10 days after, the situation, the COVID-19 situation was not stable, so they postponed the opening again. And at that time, they didn't allow the audience to get to the warm-up game. When you come to the airport, they really opened again. They did a pretty good job, but at that time, they didn't allow the audience to get into the ballpark. They only allowed 200 people, including players, staff, media people, to get into the ballpark, and half CBBL staff stay at home work. Then we also adopt a restriction with personal detail. It means each person get into the ballpark, you have to leave your personal detail. If you was tested positive in the future, they can contact you. And they also allow the home coach cheerleader group to get inside to chair their play to make them have a better game. Then after the game, if the media want to interview the player or the coach, they have to keep the social distance. Then when you come to the main situation, the COVID-19 situation was better. So they allowed the 1,000 audience to get into the ballpark. But before entering the ballpark, they have to be checked their body temperature and they wear identify handband and fulfill health statement to make sure it didn't come from some specific country with severe problem of COVID-19. And instead of restriction with personal detail, we know it will cost a lot of time for lining up. So we use another strategy, registration with countable information. It means one person at a group have to leave your personal detail information. So if there is any problem, we can contact you. Then all of the audience and the staff have to wear the mask all the time. And when they get into the ballpark, they are arranged in the distance seat. It means the seat before, after, beside you, there will be no people around you. Then at that time, our food court did not open yet. Then 10 days after the situation was really good, so they add up the audience to 2,000 audience. At that time, they started to sell the bus food and the bottled drink. And they also clear the regulation of distancing for children below 12 years old, because we all know the parent will bring their children to the ballpark, and so they let their children to sit beside them to watch the game together. Then when it came to the gym, the situation was even better. So if you sit in a seat, you don't have to wear a mask. If you leave the seat, you have to wear a mask. I mean the audience, and they open the food court and they add up the food court staff, so the fans don't have spend a lot of time at the lineup. And when it come to the August, the situation, the COVID-19 situation in Taiwan was really good, was controlled good. So, however, they still put some regulation at the play. For example, they want the staff to wear the mask all the time, and the player cannot spit or touch each other for the safety issues. And this is the front page of the CPBL. You can see in the middle, there is a COVID-19 tab. If you tap it, there was some COVID-19 information. For example, there is the fan requirement. They will let the fans know before you get into the ballpark, what should you prepare? If you get into the ballpark, what should you do? Then let's invite some famous star, the player, to make some video to teach the fan to how to wash the hand, how to wear the mask, how to keep a social distance. However, the situation was not good in other area. For example, the Japan, we all know the COVID-19 situation in Japan will be getting better in the future. So the Tokyo Olympic again just postponed it to the next summer. We hope the situation in Tokyo and the whole Japan will be better, so we can see the Tokyo Olympic again in next summer. And China also postponed all international sport events in June. Now the situation in some country is getting better. For example, the ATP Tour resumed their ATP Tour in August. Before August, they hosted the All-American Tea Cup. Unfortunately, one of the players was test positive after the first match. So how did sporting event responded to it? It surprised me because they just find another play to replace the one, and they continue again, and let the audience get into the court. They didn't try to fight the carrier, so I think fortunately it didn't get any worse. Then the challenge league in Japan, the best independent professional best league in Japan, they recently again in June. At that time, most of the games are not allowed for audience, but most of the club at that time they try to resume the game and allow the audience to get into the ballpark. They say they will hire more part-time staff to help them to do some prevention strategy like check body temperature, fulfill some form. Then the situation in the state is not good. We all know that. WWE announced cost cutting, layoff, furlough, and the talent reload in May. You can see the names of the wrestler and the personnel. They all lost their job. And the Formula One, it also happened to the Formula One. You can see the many Formula One team, they just follow their driver and the personnel. It means they will not lose their job, but they will not pay temporarily. So the Formula One have 5 steps to restart the 2020 season. First, they will test their driver and the personnel regularly. Then they still didn't allow the audience to get into the event. And then they asked all the team to reduce personnel. Then they take isolated travel. It means they have to take isolate airplane, isolate bus to stay in the isolate hotel to try to keep their driver and the personnel from the others. Then they have to keep a social distance in the pit in the event. And you can see it. The Formula One reduced their staff to 2,000 people. They really try their best. For example, the spectators before the COVID-19, there are 150,000 spectators over a 3 days event. Now the COVID-19, there will be 0 spectator. In terms of the guests, before COVID-19, there are 3,000 guests. Now there's 0 guests. In terms of personnel, F1 personnel, originally they need 3,000 to 5,000. Now they reduced to 1,200. In regarding broadcast personnel, originally there are more than 250 personnel. Now they reduced to 60 personnel. So let's see the Formula One. How did they do at their first game? Sorry about that. Let's just call off the pre-event play. In the old times, the charcoal will drive the drivers and the personnel to polite the industry to get welcome by the fans. Now they call off it. They just have an interview at the pits. Then, usually in the opening, they will have the Greek kids show up like the soccer game. They will sing the national anthem. Now they cancel that part. They just play videos. Then it is in press. Usually will have a champagne to have a good time there. Now they cancel that part. They just let the race cars stop at the starting line and interview the driver in a social distance. Let's see how the NLB respond to the COVID-19. They resume there again in July 23rd or 24th. They changed some regulation specific for COVID-19. Originally, they have a 162 games. Now they only have 60 games in 2020 season. 40 games against opponents in same division at the same league, and 20 games against opponents in opposite league but located closely. Why did they do that? They just want to reduce the possibility of getting infection due to the traveling. Also, they have a new regulation. In the extra inch, there will be a runner on the second base. So the game time will be shortened, I think. Then we can see some eventual strategy utilized by the NLB. The player will be tested each game, and if they are tested positive, they will be put into the injury list. And the injury list will not have a time limitation at that time. And the player, coach, staff will test in each other dates. And the player are banned from hugging, high fist, big touch, and they for sure there will be no audience to get into the ballpark. However, instead of it, they will put the audience dance and the players record the cheering sound over the layer. Then the staff should always keep 6 feet apart from player, and the staff should always wear the mask for sure. And before the game, there is no exchange of a lining up card, and if the ball were touched by multiple players, the ball will be removed. And how did the NBA respond to the COVID-19? They just play 8 games before playoff. So the 8 game is like a one-out game, a little bit like a one game. We all know the playoff will be tough. Then they have a 6th stage to resume the play. The first stage, the team will ask all the players to come back to the team. And the second stage, they will test all the players and the staff in each other day to make sure they are safe. And in the third stage, the NBA allowed individual practice, but not group practice. In the fourth stage, all the team just travel to the Disney bubble. However, at that time, no outside food and no visit at others' room and the hotel, and they should always wear the mask all the time, except training, eating, and if they leave the hotel, 10 more isolation days will be recalculated. In the 5th stage, because they are test positive, so they are allowed to play 3 practice games to play for teams staying in the same hotel. Then in the 6th stage, if a team are eliminated, the player should be tested again before leaving the bubble. It is also interesting. All the player and the staff should always wear the Disney Magic Band. It's like the past. It can help you to pass some attraction or some public place. So the NBA organizations can check their access record. As well, all the player and the staff should fulfill some information like body temperature and the health situation in the apps. Okay, so we know some policy in the state strategy adopted by such as CPBL, NBA, NLB, and the Formula One. We know they use two types of the strategy against COVID-19. Like NBA, they just put all the play and the staff in one place, in one big bubble, and to make them safe, play the game. And in another model, the Formula One, they cannot find a big place, so they just do a little bubble strategy. What is little bubble strategy? They just put their driver and the personnel in an isolated airplane, isolated bus, isolated hotel, so they can travel around to try their best to keep their driver and the personnel from the others. So I think in COVID-19 situation, in COVID-19 time, if we want to host a sporting event, I think in the future we need more guaranteed personnel. You can see if we really have the Tokyo Olympic in that time, we need that situation is like a lot of little bubble because we have a lot of the country. So at that time, we need a lot of guaranteed personnel to help us to check our athletes whether they are get the infect. Hopefully not. Then at that time, I think we will need more part-time staff because maybe we need to check their body temperature to do some paperwork. Then we know many athletes are test positive in these years. For the sport event organization, they are the pressure. So we need hire more medical staff to have them to get recovered active like they used to do before. Then I believe we also need some high-tech staff because now we spend too many time to check about the temperature and for your phone. Maybe we can prepare the smartphone device so they can pass, they can enter the ballpark quickly. And we also have a GPS system to check where they are going. So I think in the future, we need more high-tech step in the field of sport event. Thank you for listening. If you have any question, please let me know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yang, for your presentation. Unfortunately, Dr. Yang won't be able to join us for the Q&A session, but we will deliver the questions from the audience to Dr. Yang after the webinar. Thank you very much, Dr. Yang. Okay, as I have mentioned at the beginning, we continue the next presentation without any break. So our next presenter is Dr. Won-Seok Jang from Sungkyunkwan University. And the presentation topic is who made decisions, robots or human? How sports consumers respond to decisions made by robots. And don't forget to leave questions to Dr. Jang that we will discuss at the Q&A session. And please welcome Dr. Won-Seok Jang.
First of all, thanks for giving me a great opportunity to present my research. And I would like to present research that I have conducted with my students, Young-woo Kang, and I'm assistant professor at Sungkyunkwan University, and my name is Won-Seok Jang. And before I go into detail, I would like to talk about a little bit on my recent research topic. So I do research on artificial intelligence and human-robot interaction in the context of sport, but I do research mostly by focusing on a psychological perspective. For example, what type of psychological process that sport consumer undergo when artificial intelligence make a decision for them. So for example, let's imagine a situation that you have purchased a driverless car. So when you're first using a driverless car, would you be confident to do other stuff? Or would you put your hands near the handle to make sure your safety when something happened? So similar to this example, I do research on how sport consumer create a perception toward the decision made by artificial intelligence. And this line of research has been extended to whether people trust the message coming from artificial intelligence or how using artificial intelligence to making a game prediction can determine the game enjoyment. And my research that I will present today are focusing on how consumer create a perception toward the robot empire. In 2018, approximately there were 35,000 inquiry calls. And to make the call more accurate, the futures leagues in KBO in South Korea and MLB have decided to use robot umpire. And I believe understanding the robot umpire is important because it can determine the accuracy of the call, which could determine the game outcome and spur consumer emotion, cognition, and behavioral consequences. So robot umpire use a triangle system. So triangle system make an accurate call by creating a unique strike zone for each hitter by looking at their physical size and stance. And once the pitcher throws the ball, the triangle system identify the ball location and decide whether the call is ball or strike within the 10 seconds. And they inform their decision to the human umpire using an earpiece. And finally, human umpire have a final authority to make a decision whether they will follow the decision made by the robot umpire, or they can actually override the decision if they believe the robot umpire has made an inaccurate judgment. And this study have argued that, so depending on the type of umpire, as per consumer perception of the call credibility, trust in umpire, game enjoyment, and behavioral consequence, and the image of the organization could be different even when both human and robot umpire make the same decision. Yeah, we use a source bias framework, which was proposed by Sundar. And Sundar has argued that when people, so he has argued that individual evaluation of a target object could be determined based on the characteristic of the source that provide information. So for example, when information came from a credible person, people perceive this message as more credible when it came from a non-credible person, even when those information are identical. And this can also apply to technology. So Sundar have argued that when their information comes from a credible technology, people perceive the message as more credible compared to when it came from a non-credible technology, even when information is identical. So based on this notion, scholars have argued that how people perceive a decision made by artificial intelligence compared to the human. So studies have shown that and argued that decision made by artificial intelligence lead to greater credibility and trust compared to the human. However, a consumer has more emotional involvement with the decision when human make the decision compared to the artificial intelligence. And they have argued that this because people have a perception that artificial intelligence make a decision based on the predefined rule and computational algorithm, which involve a less personal bias, which lead to better credibility. However, when we actually look at the findings are somewhat inconsistent. So some studies have shown that the use of artificial intelligence actually enhanced the credibility of decision, but other studies has also shown that the use of artificial intelligence actually decreased the credibility of the decision. So scholars have started to understand and put more effort to identify when the use of artificial intelligence either enhance or decrease the credibility of decision. And Lee has proposed that the level of human skill leading to text completion can actually determine the effect of artificial intelligence because human knowledge and skill are difficult to code with the computational program or algorithm. So based on this concept, Lee have argued that the nature of the test can actually determine the use of artificial intelligence. So Lee have shown that when the test requires human skill, decision made by human led to greater trust compared to artificial intelligence. However, when the tests do not require human skill, decision made by artificial intelligence led to greater trust compared to the human. So when you apply this concept to a baseball, so this study was conducted a few months ago, and most of the individuals were not aware of the use of robot umpire and technology behind the robot umpire at that moment. And among 2,000 participants, only 13 participants were heard about the robot umpire. And they have argued that in baseball, the ball and strike call need some sort of expertise, which can be only acquired through a hands-on experiences. So based on this notion, we have created the first hypothesis, which we argue that the ball and strike decision made by a human umpire will be perceived as more fair compared to the robot umpire. And in order to understand how we can actually attenuate the negative effect of robot umpire, we incorporate the anthropomorphism theory. So in the human-robot interaction literature, scholars have argued that when you provide a human-like heuristic to the robot, people perceive the robot as more similar to human, therefore create a greater emotional attachment and more likely to trust this humanized robot compared to the non-humanized robot. So based on this notion, we have argued that once robot umpire have a human-like heuristic, people may view robot umpire as being similar to human and thus believe that they can make a ball and strike decision. So based on this notion, we have argued that the ball and strike decision made by a human umpire and humanized umpire will lead to more fairness and credibility, trust in umpire, game enjoyment, game satisfaction, and a future intention compared to when the robot umpire make the same decision. And to look in more detail, we propose a two moderating variable. And the first moderating variable was age. So scholars have argued that the younger individual are more familiar with the robot and create more positive attitude, and they're actually less anxious about interacting with the robot compared to the older individual. So based on this notion, we propose another hypothesis. So we have argued that for younger people, it doesn't really matter whether we use a robot umpire, humanized robot umpire, or a human umpire, because they generally perceive or create a positive perception toward the robot. However, we have argued that for the older people, the human and humanized robot umpire will lead to greater call credibility, trust in the umpire, and other positive response compared to the robot umpire. And the second moderating variable we have proposed is the gender. So the human-robot interaction studies has also shown that the male are more interested in robot, vehicle, and science engineering. So they have basically argued that the people have a more positive attitude toward the new technology and robot. So based on this notion, we propose a similar hypothesis. So in terms of male, it doesn't matter whether we use a robot, humanized robot, and a human umpire, because those individuals generally create a positive perception toward the robot. However, for the female, we have argued that the human and humanized robot umpire lead to greater credibility, trust in umpire, game enjoyment, satisfaction, and future intention compared to the robot umpire. However, for the female, we create a research question rather than a hypothesis because there was less evidence compared to the other characteristic sport consumer. And last research question we have created is that scholars have demonstrated that when a company or organization adopts a new technology, people perceive this organization as innovative. So based on this concept, we have argued that how the adoption of the robot umpire can actually impact the image of a baseball league organization. So to test this hypothesis and the research question, we use a three with a two moderating variable. So we use a three different type of umpire and consider age and gender as a moderating variable. And we recorded 200 US sport consumer from a research company and paid a $1.40 for their participation. So in terms of stimuli, we actually download the full game that uses a robot umpire into YouTube, and we carefully review the entire game and select the 60th position where a viewer were not able to identify whether the game was judged by a human or a robot umpire. And once participants entered this experiment, so they were randomly exposed to 3 of the possession among the selected 16 possession. And after watching the game, they complete the questionnaire. And in terms of manipulation of umpire, in the human umpire condition, we simply told that the human umpire make the ball and strike decision. In the robot umpire condition, a participant read a description or technology behind the robot umpire before watching the game. And we inform participant that this game was judged by a robot umpire. In the humanized robot umpire condition, we use a similar approach, but if you look at the image, we humanize the robot. And if you look at the description, we provide a name and height and age as similar to human to make the robot umpire as similar to human as similar to human. And in terms of procedure, so once participants were enter the survey or experiment, so when we manipulate the umpire type using a description, which we saw before, and they watch a video for a baseball, which was a 3 possession, which was selected from a 16 possession. And after watching the game, a participant complete the questionnaire. And in terms of finding and for the main effect of umpire type, we demonstrated that the fairness and credibility and trust were differ among human umpire, robot umpire, and human as robot umpire condition. So as you can see in the graph, human umpire and human as umpire led to more fairness, credibility, and trust, and people perceived the decision made by the robot umpire as less fairness and less credible and less trust. And there was no significant difference in terms of enjoyment, satisfaction, future intention, and image. And in terms of moderating effect of age, consistent with our hypotheses, so for a younger sport consumer, there was no significant difference, but for an older sport consumer, we have demonstrated that the human umpire led to greater credibility, followed by the humanized robot umpire and the robot umpire. And similar pattern occur with the trusted umpire. And in terms of enjoyment, there was no significant plain contour analysis. So basically, a younger individual, older individual experienced a similar degree of enjoyment regardless of the umpire type. And in terms of game satisfaction, we have demonstrated that as a hypothesis for older people, people were more satisfied with the game consumption when the humanized umpire make this decision, followed by the humanized robot umpire and the robot umpire. And a similar pattern occur with the image of the organization as well. And in terms of gender, as we predicted in terms of credibility, so male sport consumer perceived the call as credible for both a humanized umpire, robot umpire, and humanized robot umpire. But for the female sport consumer, we have demonstrated that the human umpire led to greater credibility, followed by the humanized robot umpire and the robot umpire. And the same pattern occurred with the trust in umpire. However, in terms of game enjoyment, satisfaction, and future intention, there was no significant effect. So basically, our finding confirmed the source bias framework. So even when umpire make the same decision and when participants watch the same baseball game, their relation of the call, umpire, and game consumption were different depending on who made the decision, and such effects were moderated by consumer age and gender. And this study was conducted actually 6 months ago. And as I told before, when we first do the survey, most of the participants believe that the robot cannot make decisions in baseball. However, if you think about now, lots of people were exposed to the robot umpire through a media exposure, so they have gained some sort of knowledge about the robot umpire. So if we do this same study again, people may start to believe robot can actually make a ball and strike decision in baseball. And I think this is important because if you look at the robot journalism, which uses similar technology 3 or 4 years ago, people did not believe robot can write a news story. But if you look at these days, people now start to believe that the robot can write an equally perceived news story compared to the human. And I believe the concept of knowledge can actually explain this phenomena. So when a new technology actually came into the market, a consumer has to have some sort of knowledge about the technology to actually accept this technology. So I have actually conducted research using the concept of knowledge, which I didn't include it in this presentation. So if you look at the credibility and the liking, and if you look at the low knowledge level, people perceive the decision made by the robot as more credible and more like the decision compared to the robot. But if you look at the right side, which focusing on the high knowledge level, so once people gained the knowledge of the technology, they actually started to trust and create the credibility and like the decision made by the robot compared to the human. So I think this finding can actually provide some implications to the practice as well. So I believe when organization or a company adopt a new technology, actually providing education to people and giving a knowledge is important before actually they adopting this new technology to create a positive response from the users. And in terms of my future research and the project I'm currently working on, so I'm trying to create a bigger conceptual model in terms of how the evaluation of artificial intelligence can be actually influenced by both consumer and technological perspective. And other line of research that I'm currently working on is that people have a different expectation toward the robot and human. Because people believe a robot make decision based on the rule, they have an expectation that they will never make a mistake. So I would like to understand what happened if the robot umpire made a bad call. Do sport consumer actually forgive those inner call and start to trust again, or what happened? So I wanted to understand how consumer created different forgiveness toward the bad call made by the robot umpire compared to the human umpire. So basically, my research started to understand how we can create an environment where sport consumer can actually cooperate with the robot to create more positive response from sport consumer. That at the same time, I also believe that it is important to keep the value of the sport even when you apply this new technology in the sport to create more positive response from a sport consumer. So this is all for today. And thanks for giving me a great opportunity again. And if you have any question in terms of my research, feel free to send me an email through this email address. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zhang, for your presentation. And it is our last presentation in today's seminar. Dr. Rei Yamashita from Waseda University will have a presentation titled Antecedents of International Sports Tourists Perceived Destination Loyalty. I'll leave us the questions for Dr. Yamashita to the chat on the Zoom and YouTube during the presentation. And please welcome Dr. Rei Yamashita.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Could you hear my voice?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, my name is Rei Yamashita. I am the assistant professor of Waseda University. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Etsuko Ogasawara, the president of the AASM, and the VP of AASM, Dr. Harry Kwan, and his team for organizing this wonderful seminar. It's always good to feel that we are connected, even this webinar is delivered from different countries all over Asia. Hope you enjoy the final presentation for today's webinar. So today I would like to deliver you a presentation entitled Antecedents of Sport Tourists' Perceived Destination Loyalty, Perspective from Information Search. So before getting started, I would briefly like to share today's presentation. I guess many of you have watched the Crash Landing on You during the lockdown in this April, and a very popular Korean drama on Netflix. And after watching it, suppose you wanted to taste the Korean traditional street foods that were introduced in this drama, but you don't know which ones are the real, authentic, or the traditional street foods. Or suppose that you are imagining yourself relaxing at a peaceful hotel in Thailand, and you desire to stay at a place that tourists usually don't go. But you don't have enough knowledge in your mind of options where to stay at. So after these kind of questions crossing your mind, the next thing you do is to Google the answer or look up for information, which means that potential tourists acquire information before the actual visiting. That is, information given is the first attach point for the tourists. So for today's presentation, I will mainly talk about the relationship between information acquisition and tourists' loyalty towards the destination. So for today's agenda, I would briefly go through the current tourism industry all over the world. And I would like to introduce the 2 studies I've been doing so far. And give some tips, what we still don't know and what my research focus will be for my upcoming future. And finally, I would like to wrap up my presentation. So starting from 1996, international tourist arrivals have increased year by year. And in 2019, the amount reached to 14 billion, which was plus 5% from 2018, 3.6 plus GDP. And this is quite amazing, but 9 years in a row of sustained growth. So this means that tourism industry was just expanding throughout the world. And when we look into glance at the Asian countries, for example, Thailand and Japan have more inbounds comparing to that of Korea and Taiwan. They have more outbounds. But from these figures, you could see in all 4 countries, both arrivals and departures are ever increasing. And also, please look at the red circles, not only for the 4 countries I've introduced in the previous slide, but all Asian regions have plus within both tourist arrivals and tourism receipts. So according to the UNWTO, Asia and the Pacifics are the fast growing region in 2018. And we are sharing 25% of the whole international tourist arrivals. And UNWTO has a high expectation that the upcoming mega sporting events held in all around Asian countries, such as the Summer and Winter Olympic and Paralympic Games, will trigger for more market expanding in Asia. So thanks to the expectation to the Asian region, our country in Japan started a campaign so-called Visit Japan from 2003, which stated that tourism will become the core industry of our country. And after the campaign started, we've gone through ups and downs for the international tourist arrivals. But last year, we reached to approximately 32 million international tourists, which aims to reach 40 million in 2020 and even 60 million in 2030. So the tourism industry in Japan was so far too good. But as all of you know, everything changed because of the pandemic occurred worldwide, and most of the countries still haven't reopened their boundaries for tourists. One commissioner have made a speech at an international forum saying that the COVID-19 is the greatest public health crisis in living memory. But we cannot be pessimistic. So according to the Global Wellness Institute, they released an article saying that Asia is the fastest growing wellness market, and wellness is vital for Asia's economy and social recovery. So from these facts, this illustrates that Asia have both expected 2 expanding topics, which is tourism and wellness industry. And even by combining them, these 2 could be a hint for a rapid readjustment. And there are also several expectations from the academia. One is that there needs innovative change for sustainable tourism industry for post-COVID-19. And also, one of the special issues in Journal of Sports and Tourism have published an article suggesting for scholars that there are 2 things which are notable. One is that people have the desire to be outside. And the other one is that sport is a key part of supporting and ensuring people's well-being. So as one of the rapid growing and will be the leading region worldwide sooner or later, Asian tourism destinations should rethink of these two questions. What is a sustainable destination? And how destination marketing strategies could continue to be established in a support of rapid recovery? So from now on, I would briefly introduce two studies which covers these questions. So I guess most of you have an image that Japan is expanding the tourism industry. Looking from the sport perspective, Japan's sport agency have made a declaration called Outdoor Sports Promotion in 2018, which aims to vitalize rural communities with a wide variety of attractive natural resources, such as rich natural landscape with seasonal changes. And Japanese government also launched a project to support the DMOs to build a snow resort which has high reputation internationally this May. So one key element is to establish an efficient destination marketing strategy, which is to discriminate from other rival destinations. And mountain tourism is becoming more and more competitive than before, since people's needs towards traveling is becoming diverse. However, these mountain tourism destinations tend to offer similar products, and it's hard to show their originality, and they should strive to differentiate and to achieve a stronger position in these competitive markets. And also the destinations need to be aware of what their strengths and their weaknesses are. So, however, most of the ski resorts developers, especially in Japan, and maybe a couple in the Asian countries too, but they lack these kind of marketing strategies. So when the tourism activity is back to normal, it is crucial for the destination marketers to have a decisive marketing strategy. So the question is how? And how could we make an efficient marketing strategy for the destinations? So one tip is to enhance destination loyalty among sport tourists. This is because loyal tourists tend to revisit the destination again and recommend to others with positive reputations. Additionally, they tend to pay more at the destinations. So from these facts, targeting on loyal tourists were beneficial from both academia and practical viewpoints. However, profiling loyal tourists lack attention, especially those loyalty are extremely high towards the destination. So in order to increase the destination loyalty, increasing reputation towards the destination is listed, one of the antecedents. And reputation is one of the crucial variables for the service industry's corporate strategy to differentiate themselves from competitors. And this concept was also adopted to the research, tourism research. So by increasing destination reputation, this will lead to, for example, improve the destination image, or the experiences given at the destination will be satisfied. And of course, it will increase the loyalty towards the destination you've visited. So to stimulate the destination reputation, information search behavior is adequate. Since I mentioned in the beginning of this presentation that information is the first interface you will have with the destination. However, information search behavior is complicated and it costs more and time consuming than everyday products. So once you start to search for some information, they store them into their memory, which they create their prior knowledges towards a specific destination, which is the primary stages that tourism and hospitality practitioners can influence their decision-making process. And because of this, it is critical to understand how tourists obtain essential information. So moving on to the purpose, the studies I've been doing so far is targeted on domestic sport tourists and international sport tourists. So the domestic sport tourists, the purpose of the research was to investigate the influence of domestic tourist prior knowledge on reputation and destination loyalty. And for the international sport tourists, what we did was we segmented the international sport tourists by perceived destination loyalty and to observe their perceptions of the antecedents. So this is the hypothesis model for the domestic sport tourists. Prior knowledge is consisted of two facets. One is familiarity, and the second stage is expertise. So these two prior knowledges gives positive effect towards destination reputation, whereas the destination reputation also gives a strong effect towards destination loyalty. So these four hypotheses were tested towards the domestic sport tourists. Additional hypothesis model used in the international sport tourism tourists were we divided the tourists into three groups by looking into their perceived destination loyalty: low, high, and extremely high. So we made a hypothesis saying that those who have the extremely high destination loyal group have been to the destination before. And the second is that they are more involved in sports than other segments. And the final is that the extremely high destination loyal groups are more familiar towards the destination than the other segments. So for the method, we've conducted a questionnaire survey towards the domestic and international tourists who visited Niseko, Hokkaido. The sample size for the domestic was 221, and for the internationals, we gathered 299. And I would briefly go over the outline of the demographic profiles. For the domestic tourists, there were 50% men, whereas for the internationals, a little bit more men, 61.3%. And the average age of the tourists were quite similar. For the domestic, it was 36 years old, and for the internationals, it was 37. And for those who experienced Niseko before, for those who came to Niseko before, for the domestic, 53% was their first time coming to Niseko, whereas for the internationals, the amount got a little bit higher. 70% was their first time coming to Niseko. And this is the results of the SEM. So for the domestic sport tourists, we were able to find out that the familiarity has a direct positive effect towards destination reputation. However, by mediating expertise, the positive effect towards destination reputation gets stronger. And destination reputation also has a strong effect towards destination loyalty. And the whole model was explained by 34%. So from this results, the hypothesis 1 to 4 were all supported. And this results insists that the prior knowledge gained from information search affects the tourist reputation, which also strongly affects the destination loyalty. And this is the results for the international sport tourists, dividing the international sports tourists into three groups, low, high, and extremely high. The table 2 illustrates the group comparison results of visitation experience. So we were able to find out for those who has extremely high loyalty towards the destination, have been to Niseko before. And the third, table 3, is the result for the group comparison of involvement and familiarity. So as I mentioned in the visitation experience, for those who have extremely high loyalty towards the destination, they have a significant mean score towards involvement and familiarity, which means that extremely high group have visiting experience toward Niseko, and they are very involved in sports. And of course, they are familiar with the destination compared to those who are in the low group. So what we know so far is that prior knowledge is an important component for destination marketers to recognize, since potential tourists first interface with the destination is given from information. And we were able to figure out that the expertise stage was a crucial role since it mediates the familiarity and reputation. And we also found that international tourists who are extremely loyal to a specific destination have been there before, familiar to the destination, and very involved towards the sport they will be doing at the destination. So from these results, several practical implications are given, such as centralizing information platform is necessary, especially for those who have never been to the destination. For them, it is hard for them to find information which is useful, but if the information is gathered in one platform, nothing is going to be easier than that. So, and of course, the information should be updated as possible. And also, creating a virtual space enables to experience the actual gliding courses, especially for those who are already familiar to the place. So maybe even giving virtual information will be also a good idea for future research. And we cannot forget that the marketing strategies could differ in low and extremely high groups. For extremely high groups, since they already know the basic information towards the destination, it could be rational to provide information that only the locals know. So the authentic experience will be more important for those who are very into the destination. So what we still don't know is that the given information from the internet is trustworthy or not. So before the internet was introduced to our daily life, when people had the desire to travel abroad, they gathered information from pamphlets or books. So these kind of pamphlets and books were introduced. But thanks to technology has changed tourists inquiring information drastically. So UGC, which is user-generated content, which is typified as SNS, Booking.com or TripAdvisor, and so on. These kind of applications assist tourists in gathering information and making travel decisions. But the sport tourism researchers still haven't evaluated if the given information from the UGCs are trustworthy or not. So this is another topic I will be working on soon. And also, what we still don't know is that which antecedents affect most towards the destination loyalty. So numerous variables are introduced to explain the destination loyalty, but it's sad to say, but most of the reported antecedents have been studied separately. So we don't know which antecedents or which variables we should stimulate. For example, is it place attachment? Is it the reputation towards the destination, or the image, or the authentic experiences that the tourists could gain? So this is another point that we should figure out to make the destination as a suitable tourism destination. So wrapping up my conclusion, in the beginning of my presentation, I stated the two questions. One was, what is a sustainable tourism? So looking into glance from the destination loyalty perspective, we were able to find out that destination which has high reputation is a good sustainable will have a sustainable tourism which foster to high destination loyalty. But as I mentioned in the previous slide, there are several antecedents which needs to be observed for efficacy. And the second question was how destination marketing strategies could continue to be established in a rapid recovery. So for this, from looking into the perspective of information search behavior, information should be managed to provide updated information. And also creating a centralized information platform would be good, especially for those who are willing to go to the destination or the potential tourists. But as I mentioned, we don't know how the informations are trustworthy or not. So this will be the next topic to focus on. So for my presentation, I've talked about the relationship between information search and destination loyalty. I would be happy if you have found some tips from my presentation how to make a sustainable tourism in your country when tourism activity is back. These are the references used in the PowerPoint. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Yamashita, and all the participants for listening. And from now on, we will have a Q&A session. And we have gathered all the questions from the audience during the presentation, and we appreciate all your participation. As I mentioned earlier, Dr. Chiu-En Yang is not able to join us for the Q&A, so we'll have the Q&A session with 4 of the speakers. And we have delivered the questions to the speakers in advance, so I believe the speakers are ready now. We will have a Q&A in the same order as the presentation. Okay, first, Dr. Ye-Hun Lee will answer the questions from the audience.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Can I actually share my PowerPoint slides so I can explain a little bit better? Is it possible?
Yes, sure, we can.
Please, thank you. Just for the first one. Yes, so actually the first one is about the insignificant association between perceived stress and development goal orientation. So this hypothesis was not supported because I made a little bit mistake when I was making the hypothesis. So actually the hypothesis was generated from this previous evidence. So, but negative emotion makes sport leaders focus on short-term goal. So they pay attention to winning goal orientation, and they may not paying attention to development goal orientation. But here, actually, negative emotion has nothing to do with development goal orientation. As you see, positive emotion allows the sport coaches or individuals to focus on long-term goal, but negative emotion is not doing anything that part. So probably it was the positive emotion that may be possibly linked to development goal orientation, but I did not actually include the factors in my hypothesized model. So this one probably was not supported. Also, the second question is about the job satisfaction in determining predicting stress experienced by coaches or sport leaders. I think, yes, job satisfaction may be a significant factor predicting and determining stress, but there are actually more categories of stress predictor. Physical environment can be stress predictors. The light of the lamp or noise from outside, that all can affect our stress. Job demand, organizational culture, interpersonal conflict, and those psychological factors like job satisfaction, definitely they can be intertwined, together to affect sport leader stress level. But these days, when it comes to organizational psychology, researchers are more interested in organizational commitment compared to job satisfaction when it comes to employees and sport leaders' job stress or their well-being, because job satisfaction usually affected by the reward or salary. So the more salary, they are satisfied. So job satisfaction can be significantly affected by this salary issue. So organization commitment, like I call it loyalty to the organization, can increase those employees' passion. So it gives the resilience to the stress event. So I think they are focusing on that more these days. Another interesting psychological factor can be the resilience. So when we are resilient to the stressor event, we can bounce back and we can actually fight back to those stressor event. So it can be another factors that affecting, reducing stress. And I hope this answers your question, Dina. And my research interest, yes, definitely the last one. My research interest is definitely on the sport leaders, sport coaches, and athletic directors. How can I convince to them? Well, actually, it's a little bit difficult part because as I told you during the presentation, or they actually told me back about the difficulty in the reality. So the current approach to change or convince those sport leader behavior, to me, that I experience is a punishment, actually. So when something happens, the government try to give punishment to the overall sport community, and it's kind of top-down approach of punishment. And it actually brings negative reactions to those receivers of the punishment. So I think the answer can be generated by those from the practitioners in the field or on the court. So rather than making a distinction between researchers or decision makers and sport leaders, I think it is important to talk to them and try to understand what they're thinking of the current situation and pull out the resolution together. So build rapport and make the two-way communication to fix out this situation. And the sport leaders I talk to in Korea, they all know the importance of development goal, but they just don't know how to apply that in their practical setting. So the support from the government is important, and developing evaluation system based on the result from the evaluation system, is going to be also effective way to convince them. So two-way communication may be a great answer. Okay. I hope this answers all the questions. Thank you for your question.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lee. And next, Dr. Daichi Uchimi will answer the questions from the audience.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you for the question. And yeah, this is a very initial stage, but especially in England, they have a lot of reports about the SROI, social return on investment, and UEFA. Hopefully, I wanted to play this video. Can I share my some? Can I share my
Yes, sure.
URL?
Just,
yeah. All right.
Give us a second, please.
Okay. I wanted to show you this short video that is created by UEFA, European Union Soccer Football Federation Association, I think. But I don't know it we can watch, but I tried. Yeah, this is the image of SROI. Maybe you can listen the sound. Can you hear? Can you hear the rest of the sound? But it's fine. Maybe you can have an image.
Boots and jerseys to be bought, coaches to be paid, volunteers contribute precious hours of their time. In turn, playing football regularly meets the requirements of a healthy physical activity. Science shows that active people are less at risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, and mental health problems. The savings to society are enormous. More than any other sport, football impacts those at risk in society, provides healthy activity at a crucial time. It teaches respect and discipline. It saves society on costs associated
This is
with
the educational benefit of
team sports
the sport, soccer.
achievement, generating increased productivity and GDP growth. They also contribute to greater self-respect and confidence, particularly amongst girls, enabling them to have more control over their lives. The football family crosses gender, colour, ethnicity, language and religious boundaries. It enables a network of volunteers and paid staff that provides a valuable service to communities, making them richer. Football creates value for all of us, and for the first time, we can put figures on it. Welcome to the UEFA Grow Social Return on Investment model.
All right, this is a brief video, but maybe you can find an image of SROI, and then this. Oh, I have to, and I'm gonna share the another internet. Maybe oh, sorry about that. Wait. maybe I can share the internet site. And this is the brief summary of the SROI. And this the Scottish Premier League made this report, and that is the SROI results. And they calculated their activity into monetary value, and maybe they have 3 pillars from economic impact, and also, yeah, here, economy, social, and health. So they calculated the all impacts into monetary value, and then they show the value of the league on the Scotland or their community. And as I said, the England has a lot of reports, so they also have a manual to how to calculate the SROI. So I share just one slide. Wait a second. Here. Yeah, this, you can download the guide to social return on investment, how to calculate the social return on investment. And as I said, I'm ongoing to calculate the SROI, and it's not easy. It's not like SPSS way. We need a lot of interview investigation, and also we need to identify which indicators we can monetize into the social value. So it takes time and effort, but yeah, as I said, several number of academic articles also has been increasing, including the sport industry in the world. So I think it's worth it try, but maybe we will announce some results by the end of the year or maybe next year. So yeah, so this is just the information for you. So is that okay? That's my answer.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Oshimi. And next, Dr. Won-Sok Jang will answer the questions from the audience.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the great question. And honestly, I'm not sure because we haven't examined this mechanism through experiment. But based on the previous study, probably we can say that once a robot are humanized, people perceive this robot as similar to human, therefore create more emotional connection. And I think this process can actually lead to greater credibility of the humanized robot empire compared to the robot empire in the context of baseball. Yes, that's my answer for this question.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Jang. And next, Dr. Rei Yamashita will answer the questions.
Okay, thank you for the questions. I received 2 questions. One is, in the flood of information through SNS UGC, how one travel business, I mean a certain destination, can stand out from other crowd. So yes, I believe that there's going to be tons and much of information, which is outside the world. But I think one of the good option is to use the hashtag. Hashtag marketing could be one option. And actually, I wrote those kind of implications in my article, which was published in Journal of Sport and Tourism. So if you're interested, I think you could look into that. But what I wrote was that hashtags on social media that are directly posted on their the websites, and so when there's somebody coming to that website, will easily go to the hashtags or go directly towards somebody's SNS links, which is related to the sport tourism experiences, could be a good option. And I hope I am able to answering Jia Yunshin's question. And the second question is yeah. Do I have a suggestion? Well, I would say we need to prepare. We need to prepare after the COVID-19. Well, I think it's hard to say that the COVID-19 is going to end, but we have to get adapted to the new normal life, and we have to prepare when the tourism is back. And to do so, we need to let's say that, well, from my presentation, the point I wanted to say is that to establish efficient marketing strategies for each destinations. So it's for the it is for the sport, for example, for the sport teams or the sport leagues, they have a marketing strategy. But when it comes to a tourism perspective, the destinations, they don't have any marketing strategies. That's that's far as I know. So I think this question was from the Philippines. So maybe looking up for like marketing strategy will be a good preparation that we could do right now when the when the normal life comes back. I think I think that's my question. That's my answer, and I hope that I'm answering Randall's question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Yamashita. And please give the speakers a big hand for sharing their research and valuable thoughts. And thank you very much. And to close the webinar, Dr. Datti, a committee member of AASM, will have a closing remark. And please welcome Dr. Datti.
Okay. Thank you, Juhei, for moderator for this conference, online conference today. I hope everybody can hear me. Thumbs up.
Yes, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. First of all, I would like to say thank you, President Etsuko Ogasawara, for the welcoming remarks. Also to Vice President Harry Kwan and the team for organizing the AASM webinar today. It is a very, very interesting webinar, and my name is Ridati Radzi. I am from Kuala Lumpur, and I am the Vice President in charge of education for the Asian Association for Sports Management. On behalf of the association and the AASM 2020 webinar, we would like to say thank you, especially to all of our panel of speakers, esteemed sports management scholars from Asia. We have heard from all of our speakers very, very good research findings. Two of them are from the Asian Association for Sports Management itself, Dr. Daichi and Dr. Ray. Very happy to see both of you. The Fuji sun looks very nice too, Dr. Daichi. And always enjoyed listening to all of you. And also to our panelists from Korea, Dr. Yi-Hoon Lee, and from Dr. Won Seok Jang, and also Dr. Chi Wen Yang from Taiwan, for sharing with us very, very important findings of their research. 감사합니다, 시시, and domo arigatou gozaimasu. In terms of what we had learned today, I, for one, would like to say that we have heard real research being shared. And as a closing remark, I would like to highlight this, seeing that we are looking at a new way of organizing our conferences. As you may well know, the AASM always hold annual conferences for sports management researchers for the Asian continent every year. But because of the pandemic that is affecting everybody, we have to postpone last year's conference, 2019, to 2020 conferences have to be postponed to next year. So otherwise we would have been meeting everybody in Bangkok, Thailand. But like Dr. Yamashita had correctly pointed out, this is the new way of doing conferences and sharing knowledge and information and research at the comfort of our own home. But we are fortunate to be learning from all the scholars. Some of the points that I would like to make is the level of research, the quality that sports management researchers in this continent had displayed. Very reflective of the current trends as well. When we look at the focus on leadership, as mentioned by our researcher from Korea, in terms of mental health, and also the SROI by Dr. Daichi, as the next level of return of investment that sports industry must look into, embraced as well. And the technology to sustain sports industry that we are looking in the future, for example, as mentioned by the researcher from Taiwan, which looks at the reduction of human resource. And when we thought it was unthinkable before, but now we will have to think about having a reduction of human resource and replacing it with technology, as a researcher from Korea had mentioned, artificial intelligence or robots as making or calling decisions for the benefit of the sporting community. And Dr. Yamashita also points to technology as being used to provide more information, and how we will see different way of sports destination in the future. So in terms of how sports managers of sports management research is responding to the global trends, we are very happy at AASM to see this kind of scholarship. Also, the questions that we are getting from, and I had been made to understand that they are our viewers are from all over Asia. I've seen good questions from the Philippines, Malaysia, Africa as well. So it's not just limited to the Asian continent, but all over the world, which is the reach that webinars of late are getting. With that, I am very, very happy, and I would like to see, we at AASM would like to see this trend to continue and flourish, and promote our scholarship in this region, and help us along as we adopt to the new way of doing research and sharing information in the world. So with that, I would like to also convey our warmest thank you again to the organizing committee, Vice President Harry, and the good team, the good work that had been done by the team that benefits everybody in this webinar. So with that, that, I would like to say congratulations to all the panelists and thank you for everybody who had been joining us. And we hope to see you in the next edition of AASM webinar. Thank you so much. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Wadati, the Vice President of AASM. And it is time to close the 2020 AASM webinar, Rising Stars in Sports Management Research. And I'd like to deliver my personal appreciation to Dr. Ogasawara and Dr. Kwon for letting me have a great opportunity to host the webinar. And we appreciate participation from all around the world as well. And we hope to see you at the next AASM seminar. And thank you very much for your participation again, and have a lovely weekend and stay safe. Bye-bye.